Hello and welcome to the Capitol Report on NTD Television. I'm Steve Lance. President Biden making history with his unannounced trip to Ukraine, in the confrontation with China sharpening as Beijing displays its latest support for Moscow. NTD's Iris Tao brings us the latest from the White House.
Amid air raid sirens, Biden and Zelensky walking around the center of Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. The surprise visit, President Biden says, is to send a clear message.
I thought it was critical that there not be any doubt, none whatsoever, about U.S. support for Ukraine.
Biden's unannounced trip on Monday marks the first time a U.S. president has visited a war zone where there's no active U.S. military presence. The White House says the trip took months to plan and the final go-ahead wasn't given until Friday. And as the Ukrainian president asked for more weapons, Biden on Monday announced an additional $500 million in aid. That's on top of the more than $100 billion in economic and military aid that Congress has appropriated for Ukraine in less than a year.
Freedom is priceless. It's worth fighting for as long as it takes.
Meanwhile, the trip also comes amid heightened tensions between U.S. and China, especially as China also on Monday sent its top diplomat to Moscow. And the U.S. warns that China could start sending lethal weapons to Russia.
And this would be a real problem for China in its relationships with many other countries, not just the United States.
Meanwhile, some House Republicans are criticizing Biden, with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene accusing him of forcing Americans to pay for Ukraine's war, and Congressman Scott Perry saying Biden puts in less effort to secure the border of the United States. Biden's traveling to Poland next, and we're going to see a rare split screen on Tuesday as both Biden and Russian leader Vladimir Putin are set to give formal speeches to mark the war's anniversary. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Residents of East Palestine are now reporting adverse reactions, and Ohio is planning to open a clinic to analyze their symptoms. This comes after repeated statements that air and water testing has shown no signs of contaminants. NTD's Jason Perry has that story.
5 days after hazardous fumes filled the sky of East Palestine, Ohio, residents were allowed to return home as air tests showed no dangerous readings. And Ohio Governor Mike DeWine has repeatedly said,
"We know that the science indicates that this water is safe, the air is safe."
And Senator Sherrod Brown added this.
I talked to the mayor. The mayor said definitively, emphatically, that people can drink the water.
But some residents aren't buying it.
Hard to say. How clean is it? I can't tell you.
Like Ted Murphy, who just moved into this house in East Palestine 7 months ago.
I am frustrated. Here I am. I just moved 7 months ago. I busted my ass to make this place look like it does. And I gotta move because I'm not safe being here. There is no way we are safe being here.
Then he went and wiggled a rock at the water's edge, and it appeared to stir up chemicals.
There's nothing in there, is there?
Kelly Izadek, who lives near the site of the train derailment, says she's been experiencing symptoms since returning home.
The headaches when you're home are pretty much nonstop. They're awful. Also, if you're outside for more than 15, 20 minutes, you start feeling the congestion, heaviness in your chest. I take showers. We have well water. My skin burns. It's really devastating.
Another resident said after spending one night in her house, her oldest daughter got a rash on her face and her 2-year-old's eye was hurting and became lethargic. She said she then took her children back to her parents' house. Governor DeWine acknowledged the situation.
Very understandably, the residents of East Palestine are concerned. They ask themselves, they might have a headache. They might ask themselves, is this a headache or is this headache that is in fact caused by the train derailment? We are now going to establish in the next several days a clinic in East Palestine. This is a clinic that will be established by the Ohio Department of Health. We will get assistance and help from HHS.
The state clinic is set to open up on Tuesday to analyze their symptoms. Norfolk Southern, the company that owns the train, set up a website to share updates and other information at nsmakingitright.com. Jason Perry, NTD News.
It's been over 2 weeks since the train derailment in Ohio. How is the community of East Palestine coping in the aftermath? Joining us next to discuss the situation on the ground, we have Congressman Bill Johnson. His district covers the village of East Palestine, and he's been at the site of the derailment over the span of multiple days. Congressman Bill Johnson, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you again today. Thanks.
Great to have you, Congressman. I've seen you in the videos. You're out there. You're with the people. You're getting a firsthand view of what's going on. Are you able to assess the extent of the damage caused by this derailment so far? How long do you expect the recovery process to take?
Well, the extent of the damage is great. I mean, and the people there have, as I've said many times before, they have every reason to be fearful, anxious, frustrated. It's hard to get answers to the questions that they have. My child has a rash. Is it because of the chemicals that are in the air? Is my water safe to drink? Are the surfaces of my home safe? But the short answer is we are making progress, I believe. I think the federal EPA and the state EPA are working very well together collaboratively to hold Norfolk Southern accountable for this accident. I believe Norfolk Southern has upped the ante, so to speak, and in their efforts to make sure the community knows that they're there for the long haul, that they're going to make this right, that they're going to do what needs to be done to make them whole. And I see the positive results of that on the ground. The village's water system has tested safe by both the federal EPA, the state EPA, the local authorities have tested it. I've drank some of the water there, the village water. Now, private well water, you need to have your water tested. And there's a process for that too. And there's a number that they can call and we can get that done. Same thing with the air in your home. They haven't had not a single yet indication that the air is contaminated to a level that is harmful to humans. So lots and lots of work left to do, but we are making progress.
Congressman, you raise a lot of interesting points. One question that we're hearing asked is that, the potential long-term effects of this potentially hitting the water table eventually. I'm sure there's still concerns in the back of people's minds. What measures are being taken to clean up this hazardous material, and are you confident in the testing that's come back from the EPA?
Well, I'd have to let the EPA to respond to that question for you because they're the experts. I mean, the federal EPA is the agency responsible for overseeing the enforcement of the Clean Water Act, the Clean Air Act. They are working collaboratively. Some things have been delegated down to the state EPA, and the state EPA has primacy over those issues. The EPA administrator, Michael Regan, was there last week. He's going to be here again this week. And I can tell you, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a chemist, but I can tell you that they are going to be going to great distances to make sure that they test. And there will likely be testing done here for years down the road to make sure that they are sampling the water, make sure that they didn't miss anything. This is going to be an ongoing for a while scenario.
Congressman, how were the first responders able to contain the situation and prevent it from becoming worse after the derailment? And how much work have they been doing, from the early stages?
I am so proud of the first responders. From what I understand, it was about 5 to 7 minutes from getting the call, from the klaxon going off before the all-volunteer fire department there in East Palestine responded. But some 50 fire departments from around the region sent resources there. And I think it's a credit to those first responders that this wasn't worse than it was. It could have been far worse. You got to remember, no loss of life, no structural damage. I mean, it is a miracle. It is absolutely by the grace of God that train didn't wreck a mile or so back and just take out the whole downtown area of East Palestine, but that's not what happened. And we're so grateful to the first responders for how quickly they jumped on it.
Well, Congressman, I have to say the people of East Palestine, Ohio, are lucky to have you representing them on a federal level, asking the questions, and I'm confident that you will continue to ask those questions.
Yeah, I'm going back up there tomorrow. I had to come home. I was there all day yesterday. I had to come home and get a refresh of clothing and take care of some personal chores, but I'm going to be going back tomorrow.
Congressman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
George Washington would be 289 years old today if he were still alive, and his inspirational legacy continues to resonate even now. We take a tour of the first president's centuries-old home. NTD's Melina Wisecup has the story.
The Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. The performance allows a moment to remember the first public celebration of Washington's birthday in 1778. The Commander-in-Chief's Guard surprised General Washington with the performance at Valley Forge.
I'm humbled because I'm military, and I was like, tears were in my face, like when they were doing the thing a minute ago with the flute and bugles.
Because I think it's a wonderful way to love the institution of the presidency and history and love our country.
People gather to take a walk through the mansion where Washington formed his vision for America.
To walk around, because when you go down to the river, you get to see how people would come visit him. Everything was on the river then, really. And, you get the whole layout of the farm, and it's just really neat to think of it as a working farm.
The farm is still home to the same breeds of animals that were raised here in the 18th century. It once covered around 8,000 acres. Now 500 acres have been preserved to revive the historic nature of the estate.
Really allows you to get to know him better, to see what interests him, what he was exploring here, his business pursuits, his agricultural pursuits, the people he was meeting with, and the ideas about our nation's founding that were discussed here in these places.
Take a step into history, seeing how blacksmiths made tools that would be used to shape this estate into what it is today.
Fire's not built on top of the platform.
So many historic details are preserved right here. Even this miraculous view was shared by George Washington. The centuries-old American landmark attracts thousands of people on President's Day to soak in the history of our country's founding father.
I've heard two things. I've had many people tell me that they wished me a happy anniversary of my birthday. But then I have had others say that they were here to celebrate presidents. And I said, well, since there are but two of us, myself and Mr. Adams, I can't well imagine it would be much of a celebration.
Many today showing great respect to Washington, commander of the Continental Army in the Revolutionary War. Many reflecting on his pivotal role in shaping America.
But he led us through that tumultuous time. We're only here because of that. I don't know what we would have become.
So I think Washington was the guy who set the stage for what the presidency meant for people, and so for us that's like he was the one who decided what it actually all meant to be a president.
Reporting in Virginia, Melina Wisecup, NTD News.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.